Hey guys, I'm Chase Brogan, and today in this video we are diving into the brand new Neo Ogami Plus plug-and-play retro game console. Now, if you've seen the original Neo Ogami, which I've covered here on the channel before, then you know I'm a huge fan of that setup. In fact, I've considered it to be one of the best plug-and-play game consoles out there on the market these days. But from what I'm hearing, the brand new Plus version right here was actually built directly around customer feedback with the goal of making an already great product even better. So instead of simply cramming thousands of additional titles onto the hard drive, they've actually focused on improving the actual game library and overall user experience. One of the biggest upgrades I hear is the PlayStation 2 collection, which has a lot more sports games like NBA Street, NFL Street, NHL Hits, and so many others added into the mix. They've also added a number of highly requested horror games, in addition to original Xbox titles, PlayStation 1 titles, arcade, and so much more. Now, on top of those game additions, the Neo Ogami Plus also features updated firmware, faster loading times, and a variety of optimizations designed to make the entire experience smoother from the moment that you power it on. So in this video, we're going to take a look through all those different collections. We'll see what's been changed, we'll see how things look inside here, and then of course we'll jump into some games to test out the performance and make sure everything's up to par. Let's dive into it and see what they've done with the Neo Ogami Plus. Alright guys, here we are loaded up into our Neo Ogami Plus. So this is the theme that seems to be on here. So we're currently hovering over all games. We're going to go through each of these collections and comb through the games that are offered, and then at the end we'll obviously test out some of them as well. But as we scroll through here, we've got this cool futuristic gaming sort of theme throughout this that looks very like cyberpunk, Tron sort of like. I definitely like it, and each one is different, which is pretty cool. So like Last Play differs from Image Viewer. Some of the ports on here, each one of these appears to be, a little bit different. So that's pretty cool. Now, because this is Batocera based, you can make it your own. You can add your own themes if you want to. If you want something like a little bit more classic retro gaming, you can obviously do that. I'm interested to see if there's actually some pre-installed options here. So you'll hit your start button to go to main menu, user interface settings, and then from here you have theme set. So let's see if there's any other themes. So we're currently on the Hypertessera. There's also Carbon and there's RCBX. Let's go to Carbon. I know that one's the simpler one. So let's back out and yeah, okay. So that's pretty cool there. Basically just, old school sort of console graphics. Let's go into user interface settings once again. Let's switch over to that other one, RCBX. Let's see what that one's all about. We'll back out. So you just select it, and this one, this one seems to be still loading in. Okay, so this one has like a little video background, and then your collection logos and whatnot are going to be on the left-hand side. So looks pretty straightforward. I mean, I think honestly, I think the one that comes on here stock is probably the coolest. So we're going to go back over here to that AI Hypertessera, and we'll go back over to that. But yeah, it's cool. You can always add your own as well. You'll have to connect over to internet and all that stuff, but you can download your own if you really wanted to. So let's go back over to the all games list. And the cool thing about that is you can make it your own experience. I did that with a controller today. Nothing against the controllers that come with the whole setup. They're cool, but I'm a GameSir guy. I like GameSir. I like 8BitDo. You can bring those into the mix here. You just have to map them. Mapping takes like 10 seconds, so really simple. But let's go over to our all games list. We'll start it out here. There's 47,727 games on here, which is a whole lot of games. We've got the 1 terabyte setup, so makes sense. The game count makes sense. It's not like 100,000. 100,000 is usually when there's tons of duplicates. But let's go into all games. This is going to be your master list. You've got everything in alphabetical order, so it starts with the numbers at the top and then goes to A, B, C, D, and so on. So very nicely laid out inside here. You can see the title on the left-hand side, and then in parentheses next to it, it'll tell you the collection it belongs to. So if you get games, that are on multiple consoles, you know which version they are. And it populates it nicely on the right-hand side. We get some screenshots, we get box art, we get a logo, and we get some information for some of the titles. Like this one has a description, release date, all that good stuff. A little rating on there as well, so you can kind of gauge if a game is well liked or not. So we'll back out of this one. But that's the gist of the all games list here. This is where you can go in and you can find titles you're looking for. You can also hit select on here and you can go to the jump to. So like if we wanted to look up wrestling games, like WCW, WWE type game, we'll go to W, we'll select that, and it'll jump us to titles starting with W. So we can do all of that. It just saves us a ton of time. I'm not going to look for those titles, but we'll back out. Next up, we have favorites. Favorites is going to be a collection that you put together yourself just for easy access. If you are a Sonic the Hedgehog guy, you add Sonic the Hedgehog to your favorites list, you can easily just jump into this collection and find all your favorite titles. Now, Light Gun is a cool one, 188 Light Gun games, and because this is Batocera based, it will work with all your light gun options. So it'll work with Gun for IR, retro shooters, Sinden, all that stuff it's going to work with right out of the box. You don't have to do anything to it. You don't have to customize it. You just plug in your light guns and it will work. In fact, I've got some retro shooters. I'm not going to do it in this video, but we'll definitely do that in a future video here and test that out extensively because I'm a huge light gun fan. 188 games. Let's take a look. So we've got Alien Brigade up at the top. So light gun games all the way back to Atari 7800 or Amstrad CPC even. That's pretty cool. Alien 3 the Gun, probably one of my favorite rail shooters. We got Area 51. I like that there's both versions on here. We have Saturn and PlayStation. We've got, let's see, Bangs in here, Barnyard Blaster, and there's different versions of those games. Those aren't duplicates. There's different versions, which is pretty cool. We've got Body Count in there. There's a bunch of different Body Count versions there as well. You can see the different release dates and all that. What else do we have? Confidential Mission is an awesome one for Naomi and Dreamcast. So you have the arcade version or the home console version. Cool to have that. Let's see what else we have here. Crossbow, Crypt Killer. Again, we have the PlayStation version and the Saturn version. And you can see just at a glimpse there, the graphics are quite different for those. Deer Hunting USA. Man, this takes me back right here. I remember playing this game as a kid. What else we have? We have Gangster in here. So it's actually a lot of older titles too. Like this is a Commodore 64 game. This is something you could use it with a light gun, but you could use this with a mouse and a keyboard if you wanted to, which makes sense for Commodore 64. What else do we have in here? We have Gunbuster there. We have Gunslinger. Those are always fun games. House of the Dead 2. So there's later release titles as well. House of the Dead 2 is probably one of my favorites for light gun titles. We even have Judge Dredd. I used to play this in the arcade. This is obviously the home console version, but still pretty cool. Jurassic Park for... Oh, interesting. Okay. Very cool. That's more of a rail shooter, but definitely a cool one there. We have Lethal Enforcers, all the different versions, because that went out to like all the home consoles, plus you had it in arcade. You have the main version right here, which is probably the version I would use the most. Lethal Enforcers 1 and 2. We've got... Interesting. There's titles in here that I have never even played. Like I've never played the basic rifle marksmanship before. Maximum Force, we got that for Saturn and PlayStation. Great game. We've got, let's see what else we have here. A lot of classic titles. Operation Thunderbolt's cool. Operation Wolf, and you can see all the different versions for that. And you can see how much right there the games differ, collection to collection on here. It's the same title, but graphically very different, Master System versus NES versus Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, and so on. We have Point Blanks in here. Great Namco titles. We've got Rambo 3, probably one of the most underrated in my opinion. Very similar to Operation Wolf, I think. Rescue Mission in here. A little bit of everything. So you've got the old school stuff. You've got Steel Gunner. You've got T2 Arcade for Super Nintendo, Mega Drive. We've got... Let's see, what else do we have here? There it is for MAME. That's the version I would play. We've even got House of the Dead 2 in here for the other collections as well. Or House of the Dead 1 and 2, I should say. Very cool. Time Crisis Project Titan. We've got Time Crisis 3. Okay, so there's light gun games for PlayStation 2 as well, which is awesome. Those are great. That's probably the best way to play with a retro shooter, honestly. Virtual Cop. Man, Zombie Raid. They've got just about everything, it seems. So pretty cool stuff. Let's back out of the light gun specific, and you'll find those titles in their regular console collections too, not just in light gun, but I like the fact that there is a custom collection. So if you're in a light gun mood, you go right into that collection. Never played is kind of a cool way to find games that you just constantly overlook. Last play, this is going to give you 50 games that you've played recently. We've got image viewer, so if you want to take like screenshots, stuff like that. We've got some ports in here, Mr. Boom, Bomberman. Open bore, 78 games. Let's take a look inside here. There's always some really cool sort of side-to-side beat 'em up type games here. Alien versus Predator Aftermath is a cool one. I think there was like a He-Man one. There's a bunch of Double Dragon ones. There's the Double Dragon ones right there. Unleashed is my favorite by far. Final Fantasy. We've got, what else we have? Kill Bill Volume 1 is a good one. Marvel Superheroes, Mega Man, definitely some cool titles inside here. Splatterhouse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Vampire Hunters is another really good one. So pretty cool to see those in here. You can always add more if you wanted to, but that's a great start. We'll go over to, so there's a Doom port over here. Take a look at that. We'll back out. We've got Prince of Persia, SDL Pop. We've got Steam over here. So if you want to link Steam, you could do that. Channel F. Let's see what we got over here. So these are not games that I would necessarily dive into, but if you are nostalgic for this, hey, you've got it here, and it takes up virtually no space. We'll back out. Next up, we have Atari 2600 with 640 games. I mean, it doesn't get much more classic than this. A-Team. Adventures in here, Berserk's in here, I'm sure. Let's go down and make sure, now that I said that. There it is. Perfect. Yeah, there's not a lot of these games that I personally play, but it's cool to have them on there, especially if you want a system like this that appeals to everybody. You know, you could play this with your parents or your grandparents if you wanted to, and then you could dive into, you know, what you're into. Maybe it's PS2, maybe it's PS3, Xbox. Astrocade, 20 games. Let's take a look inside here. Classics again, and just beautifully scraped. You see you've got the text list on the left, you've got the graphics and info on the right. Very I would say basic, but in a great way. You know, it's got everything that it needs. There's nothing really missing from this. We've got Odyssey 2, 116 games. Not a collection I dive into all that much, but it seems to be complete. Very nicely laid out. We don't have a ton of duplicates in here. We don't have things mislabeled. Just very well thought out and professionally done. Atari 800 now, 5,091 games. That's a whole hell of a lot of games for Atari 800. If you go in here, you can see consistently laid out. You know, this is another collection that I probably will never go into, but there's something for everybody. And honestly, these games, the entire collection here probably takes up less than one game for like PS2. So keeping it moving, we have Intellivision, 157 games for Intellivision. Classic titles in here as well. Baseball is always fun. Backing out, we've got Game & Watch, 35 games here. This is mainly nostalgia, I think. I don't know if anybody's really playing these, but it's cool to see them in there, especially if you grew up with a connection to one of these titles. Hey, it's in there for you to take a peek at. Moving on, we have Sinclair's ZX81. 1,421 games, and these take up very little space too. This is actually broken up into subcategories. We got the applications up there, we got demos, educational games, etc. Backing out, we have Arcadia, 57 titles here. You see how it's laid out. We've got Atari 5200, 72 games. So we're getting a little bit later into the retro gaming releases now. This is starting to get more into, you know, the stuff that I would play more, you know, more frequently. Dig Dug, classic right there. Very cool. Moon Patrol is another one. Cubert, of course. Popeye as well. So we've got Commodore 64 next, 5,222 games. Commodore 64, as I mentioned before, you can use that with a keyboard if you want to. That's probably your best bet. But you can make it your own experience. You know, you see it's actually broken down. There's some unlicensed. There's Compilations up at the top. Everything else here, your regular releases in alphabetical order, just very nicely put together and consistently scraped. Scraped is when they put the graphics, the logos, and the cover art all in there with, the ratings, the release date, the description, all that good stuff. So now we have ColecoVision, 135 games over here. And again, we're getting deeper into the retro titles, to the, from oldest to newest, it seems. Boulder Dash, I remember playing that one. We have Vectrex next with 71 games. And I'm basically at this point just looking to make sure everything is put together in a way that makes sense, and it is. It's very consistent, which is what I'm used to with Neo Ogami. So we have Sinclair's ZX Spectrum over here, 5,249 games. We've got MSX1 over here with 667 games. And you can see here, these games look really nice, compared to those older ones. We've got Nintendo NES now, 3,475 games. And we've got some broken down into assorted, Dynavision, FDS up there. So if you're looking for those foreign release titles, you don't have to comb through them on the regular list. You can jump into a specific folder just for those titles. But again, everything is laid out in alphabetical order. It's scraped very nicely, very easy to find what you're looking for. And remember, use your select button, go to that jump to, and we can go over to W, and I'm always looking for wrestling games, right? So we go over here, we've got WCW Championship Wrestling over here. We've got Wayne's World, we've got Wayne Gretzky Hockey, and you can see just very easy to find exactly what you're targeting. So we'll back out of NES, we've got Sega SG-1000 next with 68 games. And again, I want to highlight that theme in the back that does differ collection by collection. A lot of setups, it's the same static, sort of image or video for each of the collections. This one's different, so pretty cool. 68 for SG-1000. We have Amstrad CPC next with 1,953. And yeah, man, like it's just very easy to find what you're looking for. We got all the 007s up at the top. We've got everything just in perfect alphabetical order. Not seeing duplicates. It's just very nicely polished. Atari ST is next with 4,739 games. Compilations in its own folder at the top. In fact, there's 1617 up there in compilations. And if we jump into that, I'm just interested to see how that's laid out. Even these are scraped. Not all of them, because some of those that's disc 2 and 3 or not. But a lot of this stuff is still scraped, which is cool to see. All right, so we have Sega Master System next with 490 games. Master System is one, and oh wow, okay, so we got Tectoy and Mark III up there in their own folder, which I really like, because a lot of setups, if they do include those, they just throw them into the regular list. Now it just adds that many more titles. That would add another, 190 extra games that you have to comb through down here on the regular list. But we got Aladdin in here. I'm sure we've got Sonic. Let's find out, though. We're going to use that jump to. We'll go over to S. We'll confirm it. And we'll just hold this down a little bit, and it should. There we go. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2. Sonic Spinball up there. Sonic Spinball does appear to be in there twice. There might be different versions. We got Speedball in here. Spider-Man, Return of the Sinister Six. Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. Very cool. Street Fighter 2, Streets of Rage 1 and 2. So many great games in here. Super Smash TV, crazy game. T2 the Arcade, which we saw in the All Games list. Very nicely put together. You guys get a feel for it very quickly on here. Lion King, if you want to pull your hair out with that incredibly difficult game. Jungle Book, Simpsons is in here as well. So many great titles. Oh wow, Terminator, very underrated because T2 was always so popular, but this was a great game too. So, all right, 490 games for Sega Master System. Next, we have MSX2 with 80 games. We'll take a quick peek in here. Pretty much the same deal. We've got Atari 7800 with 61 games. We got TurboGrafx or PC Engine, and I like that it's in parentheses, US versus Japanese titles. 386 games there. And you can go into TurboGrafx 16 in its own category or folder. Just saves time, makes it way more efficient. You can really pinpoint what you're exactly looking for. All right, so we got Sharp X68000 with 800 games. I'm not going to go into each of these. Well, actually, I'm kind of glad that I did on this one. So you have folders for each of those. We've got Sega Genesis for US or Mega Drive, whichever one you're looking for. 3,225 games, and we do have it broken down into those folders. So you've got betas and obscure, we've got hacks, we've got homebrew and unlicensed, and so on here, unreleased as well. Sega Genesis English is what I would be diving into the most, so we'll go right into that one. And this is your standard sort of collection, but very well polished. You see exactly what you're looking at on here. You're not choosing just from a text list. You're having the ability to also get a glimpse into the gameplay, because sometimes, especially older games like for Genesis, for me, I was young when that came out, so I've played a lot of games, but I may not remember the title or even the box art. But if I get a glimpse into what the gameplay looked like, it may resonate with me. I may decide, okay, I want to play that game based on that. Arrow of the Acrobat, cool game right there. So we'll back out. We got TurboGrafx CD or PC Engine CD next with 35 titles. We've got original Game Boy, 527 games over here. We've got Atari Lynx with 76 games. Let's take a look inside Lynx. Actually, I want to go back over to Game Boy as well. Even though it's not Game Boy Color, it's not going to be like super vibrant, but it'll give us a glimpse. We've got hacks and others in there too in its own folder. But let's actually, even though the gameplay was obviously black and white, black and gray, whatever, the cover art and the actual cartridges are in the images here, which is pretty cool. Like for me, I remember the first game that I played for original Game Boy was Indiana Jones. So I want to actually see if that's on here, because there it is, The Last Crusade. That right there takes me back. When I got my first Game Boy Color, this was the game that I got with it, even though it's not in color. So cool to see that cartridge and to see the original box art on there. Honestly, you can get lost just kind of combing through these titles. It really takes you down memory lane, takes you down being at like Toys R Us as a kid and seeing all these displayed. That's how you would pick your games back then. Judge Dredd, another one. Really cool. Jurassic Park. So many hours in the back of the car, playing these games. I didn't even know there was a Lethal Weapon game for Game Boy, the original Game Boy. I remember I think it was for Super Nintendo or maybe even NES, but never knew that it was even available for Game Boy like that. Really cool. And that's the cool thing about, emulation too. You get to re-experience things or experience it for the very first time. Atari Lynx, 76 games. We kind of peaked at that one. SuperGrafx now with just 5 games. Very nicely put together though. Philips CDI, 15 games there. We've got Game Gear over here with 317. And we have hacks and others up there in its own folder. That's what I mean. It's just really great attention to detail on here. See, I could do this for hours, just going through here and remembering all these titles from back then. Not that I was a big Game Gear guy, but always did gravitate more towards Sega, but didn't have a Game Gear as a kid. All right, so Neo Geo next. 175 games, that's pretty standard count for Neo Geo. Should be able to find I was just going to say Metal Slug, but you don't even have to scroll down to find Metal Slug. It's in its own folder up here, as is Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, Samurai Shadow, and The King of Fighters. So let's see, we've got all the Metal Slugs here. I mean, if you're coming in here just for Metal Slug, which honestly, that's probably that and the baseball game, which I think was right up here. Yeah, 2020 Super Baseball. Love that as well. But if you're coming in here for Metal Slug, how easy is that? Jump down in here to Metal Slug X Super Vehicle, and you're good to go. You find whatever one you want and launch it. So we'll back out. Super Nintendo next, 3,787 games. We've got hacks and Super Famicom in their own folders. I think that's awesome. You very rarely see that. Usually they just ROM dump and you just have to kind of find what you can find, but this makes it that much easier. And for me, like, I'm again always looking for the wrestling games, and I believe there was WWF Raw for this. So I'm actually going to go to X and work my way up, and there they are. You got the WrestleMania arcade game there, Lex and Doink Wrestling. We've got Supermania over here, which looks like Jake Roberts and Randy Savage. We got WWF Royal Rumble, Randy Savage and Ric Flair. And then there's Raw, which is Bret Hart and Owen Hart in the actual graphic there. So really cool stuff. And we've got Wolfenstein 3D. Love that game. In fact, on my Xbox Series X, I have that game, that exact version and everything on there, which is crazy to have, but on a modern day console. But that's what I'm into. And then WCW Super Brawl Wrestling. I'm still trying to get people to realize that's a good game. Nobody's agreeing with me, but it's a fun one for sure, in my opinion. With Dustin Rhodes there and Johnny B. Bad, Mark Merrow. All right, so Sega CD, 109 games over here. And as we comb through it, man, it's just consistent as everything else is. I'm going to start going up, though, because, Cliffhanger. Is that from the movie Cliffhanger? Sure is. There's Stallone right there. Man, they were making all those movies into games back then. Crazy. Dragon's Lair, ESPN titles. Hook. Hook was a great game. Love that game, especially for arcade. Never played it for Sega CD, but I'm sure it plays the same way. Amiga 1200 now, 1,050 games, unreleased in its own, little folder up there. Take a peek at that. And they're scraped. Unreleased is scraped. That one's not, but majority are. All right, cool. Next one is Supervision with 14 games. Man, we didn't even get to the 3D games yet. And I mean, this is like our, 30th collection? This thing is absolutely stacked. So Supervision has 14 titles. See how they're all laid out here. 3DO, 70 games. This is a collection. I never played this as a kid, but through emulation, I definitely got into it. And there's some cool titles here. Casper's a cool one. Doom, of course. Dragon's Lair, of course. But Icebreaker I like. What else do we have in here? Real Pinball takes me back for sure. Lots of good stuff. And then Wolfenstein 3D again. All right, so we've got Atari Jaguar here. 81 titles here for the Atari handheld. We've got Pico over here with 262 games. Okay, let's take a look at that. That's one I don't know that I've seen that a whole lot included in any sort of plug and play system. So this is all very new. I mean, I've seen the collection, but I've never seen it like actually with a ton of titles like this. This is really cool. And it's not stuff I'm really familiar with, but it's cool to just see different things like this. Looks like a lot of foreign titles, obviously. I mean, that's essentially what it would be. So we'll back out. We've got Neo Geo CD, 36 titles there. Very nicely put together. Baseball Stars 2 I've played. League Bowling, Last Resort. Some Metal Slug in there as well. Top Players Golf. All right, original PlayStation, 1,232 games. All right, let's go into PlayStation because this is a collection that I spent a big part of my childhood playing. So we've got the 007 games to kick it all off. I mean, there's a ton of games in here. We can't possibly comb through all of them, but we'll take a stab at it. I mean, you even have like the more obscure titles in here. So I'm sure we definitely have the popular ones too, but Area 51 as we saw before. And I like that. So like we're in the regular PlayStation collection. Area 51's a light gun game. Notice that there is a light gun icon next to it. So at a glimpse, you know exactly what you're getting into. I like that. We got all the Army Men titles. Man, there were so many of those. I actually played a lot of those on Game Boy Color. But ATV Racers, Backyard Soccer, Batman titles. Blade's in there twice. That's really the only duplicate that I've seen, and I don't think that one differs, collection to collection, or excuse me, I don't think there's different versions of it, rather. But man, like, if you had a Kinhank, there would be like 20 WrestleFests on there, or a Pandora box. So still very cool that it's put together in a very clean way like this. Bust a Move. Man, we've been going for a while, and we're just to the C titles. Carnage Heart, man, I haven't seen that game since like the days of like renting games back in the late 90s. Chicken Run. So many great titles on here, man. Cool Borders. It looks like all those are on there. The Crash Bandicoot titles are on here. Crash Bash is here. Yeah, pretty cool. Dance Dance Revolution. So rather than going through, every bit of this, which will take me probably 20 minutes, Dead or Alive's on here. I'm going to start searching for some stuff. So let's go to WWE because I'm always looking to see, do we have the wrestling games, right? I mean, that's what I always play, especially for this particular collection. So we'll go to W, and we got Wacky Races to kick it all off, which is a cool one. Warcraft 2, War Gods. We got WCW Mayhem over here. I forgot that was even to PlayStation. Let's hold this down. There we go. There's our WWF titles. So we've got WWF Attitude, we got In Your House, we got SmackDown, SmackDown 2. SmackDown 2 is my game for sure, Know Your Role. And then WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. Got the X-Men titles in here. Man, it's absolutely stacked. And again, 1,232 games for PlayStation. Next up, we've got Sega Saturn, 257 games over here for Saturn. Let's go into that collection. Not a huge Saturn guy, but like 3D Baseball, I played a lot. What else? Area 51. Maximum Force should be in here. House of the Dead should be in here. Chaos Control, okay. That's a good one. You don't typically see that in these setups. Casper. Corpse Killer, forgot about that one. Crime Patrol, forgot about that one. I love having, and you also get a wheel when you have a racing game. I just noticed that. Daytona, and we've got all the Daytona USA versions. So we've got the Netlink edition, we got the Championship Circuit edition, and regular Daytona USA. And I would probably play that more on Dreamcast. I'll be interested to see if they've included it for Dreamcast, but this is probably the one you should play it on, but graphically it's obviously going to be better on Dreamcast. But good stuff in here, man. Really good stuff. In the Hunt. Love that game. And there's Maximum Force, as I mentioned before. All right, so let's jump out of this one. We've got Sega 32X with 44 games. That's more than you typically get. Oh, because we got hacks. Makes sense. Let's see what we've got in hacks. There we go. So we got a bunch of Doom hacks, which is cool. Mortal Kombat 2 and Sonic in Chaotix. Interesting. But yeah, we got everything that we need in here. NBA Jam Tournament Edition is the one that I would play the most. Next up, we have Virtual Boy with 17 games. We got Sega Model 3. Okay, Sega Model 3, 19 games. Hopefully we have Star Wars. There it is at the bottom. I love it. Daytona USA Power Edition. Now, I take it back. This is the game that I would play, not the Dreamcast version. Daytona USA 2 Power Edition for Sega Model 3. That's where it's at for sure. Harley Davidson and LA Riders I like a lot. Scud Race is cool. Scud Race Plus, Sega Bass Fishing, Spike Out, Ski Champ, actually, believe it or not. I know skiing game sounds like a weird one. It's a fun one for sure. Ocean Hunter is a great one as well. It's kind of like a rail shooter underwater type deal, but Star Wars Trilogy and Lost World, top notch. All right, and I'm not even like, I wouldn't say I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a fan, but not like, I don't get crazy for it, but Star Wars Trilogy, best Star Wars game ever made. All right, let's back out of Sega Model 3. We got Nintendo 64 next. Nintendo 64, 266 games. Let's take a peek inside here. We got Japanese titles and translations in their own category. We'll keep moving down the list, though. We've got some tennis in here, some All-Star Baseball in here, Army Men in here. We've got Batman Beyond on here, Bugs Life, California Speed. That's a great way to test out performance, too, because that is a fast-paced game. We've got, let's see, Clay Fighter, Sculptor's Cut, horrendous game right there, but it's on here. That's good. We've got Doom 64. We got Duke Nukem 64. We've got Duke Nukem 0 Hour. We've got some ECW wrestling in here. We've got Earthworm Jim 3D. some Formula One titles. My all-time favorite game, Gauntlet Legends. Not crazy for this version, but definitely a big fan of the game itself. GT64, Hercules. We got some Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Hydro Thunder, one of my all-time favorites. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. Indy Racing 2000. Graphically insane for N64. Jeremy McGrath Supercross 2000. I mean, just look at the graphics from that to this right here. Night and day difference. Doesn't even look like the same system. We got all the Madden titles, it looks like, for N64. We've got Mickey Speedway in here. We've got Micro Machines 64. That's a cool one. Mortal Kombat. We've got NASCAR in here as well. We've got NBA Hang Time in here. NBA Jam 2000. NFL Blitz Special Edition. NFL Blitz 2000, 2001. Love that all those are included. That's probably one of those games that I play the most on here, to be perfectly honest. NHL titles. We got some Paperboy in here. We've got Rampage at the bottom. Ready to Rumble. Road Rash. So many great titles. Do we have the WCW titles? Is going to be the ultimate test here. Got all the Star Wars in here as well. Supercross 2000. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 through 3, which is awesome. Some Tom Clancy's I saw. Some Turok. Vigilante, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, and 3D Hockey 98. Great games. So for WCW, we got Backstage Assault, the crappiest game of all, but still, it looks like a complete set here because we've got Mayhem, we've got Nitro, we've got World Tour, and we've got Revenge, the best game for WCW wrestling titles. When it comes down to now WWF, we've got No Mercy, we've got Attitude, we got Warzone, we got WrestleMania 2000. WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy would be the only two really worth playing, but I love that it's complete. So we'll back out of this collection. We've got MAME next. 1,967 games. That's more games than the original Neo Ogami had. So let's dive into this. We've got Killer Instinct up at the top. That is one that I saw in the comments on the first video that I did, that they talked about people wanted it. You got it. That's awesome. We've got Mortal Kombat, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all in their own category, so you can easily access those. We got 2-on-2 Open Ice Challenge. That is one that you have to have, and we do here. I love that. That's like the NBA Jam of hockey or NHL. One of my favorite games ever right there. AB Cop is a great one. What else do we have in here? Afterburner 1 and 2. Now, I'm interested to see, do we have, because I think that I saw that the Blitz games were added in for MAME, because before I think we just had it for the home console, so I'm going to be looking out for that. Alien 3 The Gun, which is a light gun game or rail shooter, same deal. You have the icon on there just for, reference right at a glance. Same thing here with American Speedway racing game. You got the racing wheel. And it looks like the trackball games have a little trackball icon. I just noticed that as well. Very cool. So let's go down to, we'll go down to N because I want to see what NBA and NFL games are present on here. Let's see. There we go. So we've got NBA Hang Time, NBA Jam. Love that we have the arcade versions of these. Tournament Edition as well. Always like that because you had Rodman with, I think he had green hair in that. Maybe different colors, but always thought that was cool as a kid. All right, so let's go down to... So I'm not seeing NFL Blitz on here. Like I thought I read somewhere that there was NFL Blitz, but I could be wrong. Unless it's, it might be in one of those other collections. It may not be in the MAME arcade collection. So we'll keep that in mind. But moving forward, I mean, there's no shortage of titles on here. This is insane. I want to just kind of hold this down and yeah, man. And you see as I comb through here, everything is scraped. Everything's put together nicely. It's consistent, title by title in this collection. Very cool. So let's back out. Next collection. So back out here. Next collection over. Let me go up here. Now I actually want to go to the jump to. Let's go down to W. And you know what I'm looking for already. I'm not even going to say it. There we go. Wacko's a good one. But I want to see, do we have WrestleFest on here? You got to have WrestleFest, right? There it is. Superstars and WrestleFest plus WrestleMania. But yeah, Superstars is a good one too. I like that we have Macho Man in there. But WrestleFest just graphically is just such a classic. I love that. We got the X-Men titles as well. Very good stuff. All right, so we'll back out. Next one over. Probably my all-time favorite, Dreamcast. Love that for retro gaming. 260 games. Let's see what we have. We have 18-wheeler to kick it all off in alphabetical order. Obviously, numbers before letters. We've got Aqua GT, which I love. Alone in the Dark's cool too, but Aqua GT is a great one. Very similar to Hydro Thunder, which I also love. Cannon Spike is cool. Capcom versus SNK. We've got Centipede in here. Charge and Blast. Confidential Mission, which is a light gun game. You have that in here and also in Naomi, I believe. We know that from the All Games list. Crazy Taxi 1 and 2. We've got D2 in here. Multi-disc games, obviously. Daytona USA, Dead or Alive 2. And we just saw Dead or Alive for maybe PlayStation. We got ECW, Anarchy Rules, and Hardcore Revolution. So heavy on the wrestling games, which I like. Looks like we got Spike Dudley, I'm assuming, and Sabu there. And then here, man, we got a little bit of everybody. Looks like New Jack, Balls Mahoney. I don't know who the other one is. Evil Dead, Hail to the King. Okay. Some Formula One games. Gauntlet Legends. Now, this is the version that I would play endlessly, and I will. Graphically, the best version right there. We got the Grinch in here as well. That's cool to play around the holidays. House of the Dead 2. Hydro Thunder, as I just meant. Oops. Hit the wrong button there. Let me back out. Damn it. Fucking cocksucker. We got Jet Grind Radio, which is a classic. Hydro Thunder, which I just mentioned a little while ago when we were looking at Aqua GT. We've got King of Fighters 99 Revolution. We've got Dream Match in here as well. Some Looney Tunes Space Race, which is interesting. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Got to have those. Metropolis Street Racer. Monaco Grand Prix. Mortal Kombat Gold. Bunch of NBA games. Looks like there's a lot of sports games on here, which is awesome. NFL Blitz is on here. NFL 2K is on here. NHL 2K is on here. Great stuff. Power Stone 1 and 2. Classics. Really good stuff. Sega GT. Marine Fishing. Silent Scope. Snowcross Championship Racing is a great one. Soul Calibur, one of my favorites for this collection. Spider-Man, Star Wars, Street Fighter. Test Drives in here. Tokyo Extreme Racer 1 and 2. I love those games. There's a lot of racing games. I'm seeing that all over. You see all the racing wheels on here. Good stuff. Tomb Raider, Chronicles, and Last Revelation. We also have the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six and Rainbow Six Rogue Spear. Unreal Tournament's a good one. Virtua Tennis, one of my all-time favorites. World Series Baseball is great as well, graphically ahead of its time. WWF Royal Rumble, super underrated wrestling game. All right, that's a pretty sweet Dreamcast collection. I can't think of anything that's missing from that one, to be honest. Game Boy Color, 549 games over here for Game Boy Color. We have hacks and others in their own collection. Let's see, Sega Naomi, 34 games. Let's take a look inside here. There probably is some crossover between this and Dreamcast, but I see Giga Wing 2, which is a great game. Dead or Alive 2 Millennium's great. Confidential Mission, we saw that in Dreamcast. We see it here as well. Capcom versus SNK, 2 of those titles. Marvel versus Capcom 2, Power Stone 2. Sports Jam, okay, that's pretty cool. Street Fighter Zero 3 Upper. We have the House of the Dead 2. We have Toy Fighter, which is cool. Virtual NBA, great game. And we've got that Royal Rumble game as well in here, which is a different little poster, I suppose you'd call it here, because it's not really box art, right? Zero Gunner 2, also a great game. Next up, we have Neo Geo Pocket with 9 games. Pretty straightforward. Neo Geo Pocket Color over here with 85 games. We have translations in its own collection as well. Consistently scraped. We have PlayStation 2 now. So this is a collection that has changed quite a bit from the original Neo Ogami. We've got 353 games here, and I believe they've added a lot of sports games to this. So we've got 10-pin Championship Alley, or excuse me, Champions Alley, 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker, which we saw for Dreamcast a little bit. Although this isn't the same game. This is the extension on that franchise. Wow, awesome game. I remember having that as a kid. And One Street Ball, awesome game. And I believe pro wrestler Mark Jindrak, good friend of mine, is in this game as well. We're going to actually do a video on that, I think, at some point. So that'll be cool. Maybe we'll use this to do it. I've actually played that game, and it's cool. Beverly Hills Cop. Interesting. Big Mother Truckers. I believe I had that for GameCube as a kid. Bomberman. We've got Burnout. Capcom Fighting Evolution. Capcom versus SNK 2. We've got Casper in here. Castlevania in here. Lots of good titles. Crash Nitro Kart is a great one. Crazy Taxi. Crash Twinsanity. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2. Deer Hunter. Very cool. I don't know that I played that version. Def Jam Fight for New York. That's a great game right there. Devil May Cry. We've got Devil May Cry 2, which is a dual disc game. Devil May Cry 3. Very cool to see all these titles in here. And definitely some ESPN football, ESPN basketball, winter sports. So they definitely added a good amount of sports games. Looks like a lot of racing games too. There's a lot of Ford titles in here. Let's see. Gunfighter 2. Grand Theft Auto's in here. So we have Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, we've got Vice City, we've got Grand Theft Auto 3. I mean, those right there, that's probably your 3 top games. Excuse me, went over to the wrong collection there. We've got all the Harry Potter titles, it looks like. Harvest Moon's in here, both of those. We've got IHRA Drag Racing. I've seen those games, never played those, so I'll have to check those out. I love racing games. Hot Wheels beat that. Jack 2, Jack and Daxter, The Italian Job, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, Kingdom Hearts, Lord of the Rings. Looks like all the Lord of the Rings titles. We got Madden NFL 2001 and 2002. We got Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Masters of the Universe, He-Man Defender of Grayskull, European release. Metal Slugs 4 and 5. We've got Midnight Club Street Racing. I love the Midnight Club games. We've got MLB 06 The Show, MLB Slugfest 2003. Mortal Kombat games are in here. We got MotoGP, MotoGP 2. NASCAR. Love NASCAR games. NBA Live 2005. NBA Starting 5. NBA Street V3, which is probably, It's one of my favorites. V2, Need for Speed, all the Need for Speed games. We got NFL Street 3, which is a new title for this. I love that. NFL Blitz 2002. I love the NFL Blitz games as well. Even the later releases like this. We've got NHL 2002, NHL 2001. We've got NRA Gun Club over here. We've got some Pac-Man. We've got Quake 3, Raiden 3, Resident Evil titles are all on here. Man, I mean, this is absolutely stacked. Okay. One of my favorite games of all time for this era, Scarface, The World Is Yours. I love this game. What a bloody, gruesome game, but so much fun. I really believe it's like Grand Theft Auto on steroids. Just such a cool game. Serious Sam Next Encounter is an interesting game as well. Dual shooter game. Love that. Silent Hill, Silent Scope 2 and 3, Simpsons Skateboarding, The Simpsons Hit and Run, Road Rage, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, cool game. Sonic Heroes, we got Spawn Armageddon, we got Spider-Man titles in here, we got some SSX in here. Fuck. We've got SSX over here. We got some Star Trek. We got Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. Great games. Jedi Starfighter. Racer Revenge is probably my favorite Star Wars game. I love the pod racing game for like N64 Dreamcast. I think it was PlayStation 1 as well. But I got into this game. Never played it as a kid, but I got into this game right here through emulation. That's probably hands down my favorite Star Wars game ever since, discovering it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We got Tekken 4, Tekken Tag Tournament. The Thing, okay. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2001 and 2002. We've got Time Crisis, so we've got Crisis Zone, we've got Time Crisis 3, and we've got Time Crisis 2 on here. All great games. We've got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, Project 8, Underground 1 and 2, Twisted Metal, Virtual Cop Elite Edition, Virtual Fighter, World Championship Poker's in here. WWE SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, probably the best game right there. Brock and Lance Storm on the screenshot. I'm digging that for sure. Love that game. My favorite wrestling game ever, I think. All right, so we got Pie Game over here that comes with Botticera. Game Boy Advance, 1,036 titles. That's a good count for Game Boy Advance. We've got Hacks and others in their own collection again, but very nicely scraped and put together on here. We'll back out. We've got a Thomas Wave now with 7 games. Dolphin Blue, The Rumblefish 1 and 2, Guilty Gear, great titles. We've got original Xbox, 38 original Xbox games. Let's take a peek inside. Agent Under Fire, my favorite 007 game right there to start things off. 25 to Life is a cool, crazy game. Aggressive Inline is pretty cool. Arctic Thunder, I always enjoy playing. We got Batman Vengeance, we got Blinks, we got Blood Wake, Blood Rain 2, BMX XXX, Burnout, Capcom vs. SNK 2. Burnout, you gotta have Burnout for Xbox, right? Love that. Conquer, we've got GoldenEye, Rogue Agent, which is a cool one. Now, this is a new one right here, Halo. The original Halo Combat Evolved. I love that that's been included on here. Such a great game. We've got Jet Set Radio Future. We've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, which is basically my favorite Tony Hawk game, just, revamped and kind of remastered for the times. Jet Set Radio Future, I missed that one, but I love that right there. And believe it or not, this game right here, IHRA Professional Drag Racing 2005 is a cool one as well. I love racing games. This is kind of a different take on it because you didn't see a lot of drag racing games, but pretty cool. 100 Bullets, missed that one the first time around too. So definitely some cool titles in here. If we back out, we've got Nintendo DS next, 199 games for DS. I'm not a big DS guy, to be perfectly honest, but I can definitely respect the collection for sure. And I know a lot of people have gotten into it with emulation. So lots of cool titles in here. I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but I see Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Graphically, that looks pretty cool for, what this was. Cars, a lot of Cars titles there. Castlevania, Contra 4, lots of great stuff. So back out of that one, we got PSP next with 244 games. That's a lot of PSP games. PSP Minis in its own collection. I love that because it used to drive me nuts with these, where you'd go in there and you'd find all the PSP games were actually PSP Minis. So we've got some cool stuff in here for sure. Call of Duty. We got Cars Racerama is a pretty cool one. See some Dave Mirra, BMX Challenge. We got some Dragon Ball Z, some Dragon's Lair, Formula One Grand Prix, Final Fantasy titles, Grand Theft Auto, Gun Showdown is a cool one for sure, Avatar, Lego games. And I definitely got into the Lego games over the last couple of years. Never played them as a kid, but got into them later, and they're awesome. We got MotoGP, MVP Baseball, MX versus ATV Untamed. We got NFL Street 2, NFL Street 3, NHL 07. Very cool stuff. Ridge Racer 2, always going to be one of my top 2 probably PSP games. Love that. Sega Rally Revo. So many good games on here. SOCOM Fire Team Bravo 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max, some Tom Clancy's in here, some Tony Hawk in here. We got Tron Evolution in here. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is cool. WWE All Stars 2011 and WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. Very cool. So back out of this one, we got Xbox 360. There's just 3 games for 360, and it's Backyard Sports Sandlot Sluggers, NBA Jam, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. NBA Jam's one of my favorites. I love that. We got PlayStation 3 next. 14 games. I think it was 14, right? Yep, 14 games. We've got Castlevania, Lords of Shadow, DC Universe Online, Digimon. We got Dragon Ball Z. We got Superstar Carts, rather. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We got Hellboy, The Science of Evil, Kick-Ass 2. We got Killzone 2, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker HD Edition, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. Awesome game. Rayman Origins. We got The Chronicles of Narnia, and we got Transformers Devastation. Another great game right there. So very good. We got Oozebox over here with 89 titles. Just take a quick little look inside here. Nothing too exciting, in my humble opinion. FB Neo. So this is where you can find even more classic arcade games. We got Street Fighter in its own collection at the top. Let's go the opposite way, though. I want to see at the bottom. We got X-Men versus Street Fighter, X-Men Children of the Atom, Vampire Savior, Vampire Hunter 2, Tiger Road, Trojan, Ring of Destruction, Slam Masters 2. Good stuff. Marvel vs. Capcom over here. Mega Man. Excuse me, it's Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, my bad. Giga Wing. Some Formula One up there. Some Dungeons and Dragons up there. Capcom Sports Club. Now, Bolarama, this is a great game if you are looking to use trackball for anything. Great stuff there. Alien vs. Predator, another great one. All right, we'll back out. We got OD Commander, just one there. And then I like that we have 2-player and 4-player collections. It basically just combs through all the games that are included, and it adds in all the 4-player games into that collection. So if you're playing with 3 buddies, you can just go into this and find games that you can all partake in. Same thing with 2-player. It's going to be you and 1 buddy instead of 3 buddies. And there we are. We're back to our all games list. So I definitely see that we've improved upon the game count on here. We've improved upon mainly that PlayStation, Xbox collection. There's a few others. MAME actually got some new titles as well. But definitely a different interface, different vibe to it. Very cool stuff, though. Let's jump straight into some games, though. Let's test out the performance in a couple of these. We'll focus more on the higher-end collections just to see how they perform. But really exciting stuff here.
missiles. Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't have to jump too high to flush it, huh? Ha ha! Say word! Ah, I like that little Right!
I'm open! Don't get up. They creeping, dog! They creeping! I'm burning up the field, baby! Burning it up!
You ain't touching that!
I'm reading a lifeboat beacon over the next hill. We should check to see if there are any survivors.
Alright guys, we jumped into the Neo Ogami Plus, and I love this setup. Now, aesthetically, is it any different than the original Neo Ogami? At face value, just looking at it, not really. It looks like the same sort of console, but what they've changed is the firmware inside. It loads so much faster than the original one, and there's way more games. They actually expanded upon the PS2, Xbox, and the MAME collections mainly. I think they actually added some more Dreamcast and PlayStation 1 if I'm not mistaken. But what I really noticed was PS2 is way more robust. There's so much more sports games on there. There's some horror games mixed into these different collections as well. And there's some more MAME games as well, which I am a classic arcade gamer, so I love hearing that. I love being able to play more classic arcade, but also PS2 is a game collection that, you know, it's been so long since that console came out that I've really gotten to experience a lot more titles lately thanks to emulation. So love that they've expanded upon all that, but man, as soon as I fired this up, the load time was way quicker than the original Neo Ogami. I felt like the Neo Ogami in the beginning, as great as it was, it did take a little bit longer for it to start up and to load all the emulators and collections in. Now you have way more games, but it loads like 3 times faster or something like that. So Really cool there. I also love the fact that you can make this your own experience. You can bring in your own controllers. That's what I did. Nothing against the provided controllers. They get you started, and they get you started with literally everything. It's not like they have controllers that only work with certain collections. They'll get you through everything available. But I'm a GameSir guy. I've been using this exact controller for like 4 years now. I also have a wireless controller in here that I use with the USB dongle. I just simply plug those in and map them. It takes like 10 to 15 seconds if you're really taking your time. It couldn't be more user-friendly. Now, themes on here, they give you some decent themes in my opinion. You can add your own if you want to. Personal preference there. You can also, of course, adjust settings and stuff like that. But honestly, the settings seem to be in the best position here. You have everything stretched for the most part. It looked like everything's resolution was top notch. So I really think that they curate everything, not just the games offered, but the settings associated with those games. It seems like everything by default is at the best setting. So I wouldn't dive into this too much and start tweaking things because it really is at its best right out of the box. So love that about this. I love that they've expanded the collections. As I mentioned, Xbox has Halo Combat Evolved now. I mean, the original Halo game, and it plays beautifully on here. There's some amazing sports games integrated now into the PS2 collection. Scarface, what is that? Scarface, The World Is Yours, I think it's called, or The World Is Not Enough. It's one of those. I think The World Is Yours. Love that game. The Scarface game, not for kids. The language and the graphic visuals and all that stuff is top notch, like super violent, bad language, all that. That's why I didn't show the gameplay demos of that. It's great performance on here, but we don't need heads getting blown off and all that in, you know, what should be a family-friendly video right here. But if you're into Grand Theft Auto, check out Scarface. It's a great game, great storyline, so many side missions that you can do in addition to the regular, you know, game mode on there. So just love that it's a new way to enjoy a plug-and-play retro game console, and just so many amazing titles and games. I mean, this video is well over an hour long for a reason. It's because there's so much in here. But highly curated in terms of what's offered, but also the data that's scraped in here is consistently scraped collection by collection. There's no, you know, random ROM dumps or lazy sort of setups. I just did a video on a plug and play handheld game console that I love. Amazing handheld, but the setup was just so ugly and just terrible that it definitely diminished the experience. That's not the case with something like this, where you can tell whoever put this together really took their time setting it up beautifully. So huge fan of this. You don't have to source ROMs yourself or emulators anymore. It's all ready to go straight out of the box. So huge fan of everything here. Definitely click the link, learn more about this product. Now I will say this, and I remember this from the past with the original Neo Ogami. If you click the link and it's not currently available, it's because they do sell this in batches. They don't have like 20 million of these on a shelf that they're just firing out endlessly. It's not a Kinhang product where they're ROM dumping and just throwing it out the door for you guys constantly. These are in limited batches, so if you find that, hey, there's none available right now, keep checking back, or I think you can even put your email address on a list where you get an instant notification as soon as they do restock. So it's not one of those situations where you're paying and they're back ordered and now you're going to have to wait 6 months before it ships to you. They don't take your money unless they have it ready to go. So really cool, really nice setup here. Click the link to learn more. That's going to do it for today, guys. I know I ate up so much of your time, but thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I thought that this was a product that really deserved a lot of detail and attention, so tried to highlight what I could for you guys here in an effective way. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. If you do, thumbs up on the video, hit subscribe, click those links to learn more, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Oh, and I will be doing a video because I talked about light guns. Light guns work on here. Doesn't matter if you have Gun for IR, Sinden, or Retro Shooters, which are the ones that I currently have. And I'm going to be doing a follow-up video just testing out the light gun side of things here, because there's so many light guns, as we saw touring through this, that you can have a great experience with, and it's truly plug and play. So keep in tune for a follow-up video where I dive straight into the Retro Shooters and the Neo Ogami Plus. But thank you guys so much again. Click those links. Be sure to hit subscribe so you stay in the loop for that future video on the light guns, and I'll see you on the next.